Good afternoon, everybody. So for several weeks now, as the election season heats up, I have a lot of friends and family and some complete strangers who've seen me asking me what the difference between a liberal and a conservative is, and what a socialist is, and what's the difference between all these things. I've come up with a very simplified answer to that question between the difference between a liberal and a conservative. So follow me on this. Conservatives want everybody to be equal at the starting line. Look at life and success as a race. Look at working as a race. A foot race, per se, or a car race, whatever you want to call it. But we'll use foot race for right now. A conservative wants everybody equal at the starting line, to have the same tools, the same knowledge, the same abilities to succeed at whatever it is they're doing. A liberal wants everybody equal at the finish line, regardless of the tools, effort, or work that went into it. You might be asking what that matters, what that means. Liberals are now flocking like sheep to Bernie Sanders, a career politician. I don't care what he says that he's not. Bernie Sanders has been in Senate and Congress for 25 years. Sorry, but 25 years is a career to most, if not all, people. So 25 years Bernie Sanders has been in Congress. Before that, he's never owned anything, he's never created anything, he's never built anything. He never really held a job in his life, and he was on welfare when he ran for his first public office. This is the person you want to be president of the United States of America. Oh, and he's a self-professed socialist. We'll get into that in a little bit. So, liberals are now becoming socialists, which I've known for a long time that they were. What does that mean? In a sense, if we were to analyze a small focus group of 10 people doing the same exact job, which involves some sort of productivity, this is what we would get. You usually have 9 people that work their butts off, maybe 10, 15 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, and the one slacker. But they all get the same pay and the same benefits and the same successes at the end. So hey, that's what it is, right? It's fair. It's a liberal's paradise. The problem is you can't legislate away human nature. After a while, you're gonna have 2 or 3 people that say, wait a minute, why am I killing myself and missing my kids growing up? Well, this guy gets the same money as us and does nothing. So 2 more people decide, I'm gonna take it easy and scale back and end up like the slacker. So now you've got 7 hard workers and 3 slackers. Productivity's a little down, but hey, they all still receive the same compensation for their work or lack thereof. They all still receive the same modicum of success or lack thereof. Couple more months go by and 2 or 3 more decide, same thing. Why am I killing myself when all these people, when 30% of us do nothing? So 3 more now decide to drop off into the nothing list. Now you have 4 hard workers and 6 slackers. Productivity is now down 50%. Productivity's down, but everyone's still getting paid the same thing, so hey, that's fair. Let's call it fair is fair. And before you know it, you'll have no one working hard. Everyone's slacking. Nothing gets done. And hey, they still get paid the same thing, right? No, it doesn't work that way. See, an economy only works if there's productivity. No productivity means no jobs. No jobs means people on welfare and government tea. Here's another interesting fact that liberals like to blame on big corporations being the problem in America. No, it's not corporate greed that's the problem. All right? I don't necessarily feel that working your way up and working hard is a problem. Here's the issue. If a musician can make $50 million or an actor, Why can't somebody who manages 20 million employees make $5 million? But again, we're talking corporate profits. Now, I don't necessarily agree with taxpayer-funded dollars to bail out banks and auto companies and energy companies who made poor decisions. I don't agree with that necessarily. But I also understand that if those companies go under, millions upon millions of people will be out of work. So that's kind of a double-edged sword, and I'm still somewhat in the middle on that. Now, I know I'm jumping all over the place. It's a slight case of ADD. You'll have to deal with me. So we've established that you cannot legislate away human nature. Now let's talk about some other things. Liberals think you can legislate crime. This has to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. There are liberals who believe guns are the reason there's crime. Not the people, the gun. If there were no guns, there'd be no crime. Except that in countries, large civilized nations, where there's no civilian ownership of firearms, there's still crime, and there's still murder, and there's still death. So that's not a very good argument. How about we think the people are the problem and not the firearm? That's not to say I think a firearm in every hand is the answer, but it's certainly not the solution to just take them all away or restrict the rights of the law-abiding when the criminals don't care about laws. So you can't legislate crime. Legislating poverty, that's pretty much what socialism is. Trying to legislate poverty or selling it as legislating away poverty. You can't do that either. Because socialism doesn't legislate away poverty. It doesn't bring up the lower class. It drops everyone else to the same rampant level of misery and despair, breadlines, things of that nature. It's happened throughout the world. Here's some interesting factoids that your savior Bernie Sanders forgot to mention. Your free college and your free healthcare, you take advantage of those and you will get an IRS Form 1099 MIS, which is MISC, for those who don't know or I just can't pronounce very well. What that means is, it's if you spent $20,000 of the government's money on your education, you now have to pay taxes on that money at the end of the year. It's still miscellaneous income. No different than if you settle a credit card bill from $1,000 to $500, you have to pay taxes on that $500 in the same manner. Nothing in this world is free. There's no such thing as free money. So you need to keep that in mind. And by the way, that $20,000 in college will likely bump you into a different tax bracket, which means you'll pay higher taxes. Because he did say that everyone across the board, except for people who make less than $20,000, will see higher taxes. Okay? But if he raises minimum wage, no one will make less than $20,000, so everyone's going to pay more taxes and they're still going to be poor. Kind of a double-edged sword. Plus, you'll have that free college that he's promising. And I got a rebuttal today that if that were the case, you would have to pay taxes on public schools all the way through high school. That would be the case if the fact that public schools are paid for already by tax dollars in every single area of the country. Therefore, you already are paying for public schools. You're just not paying on the value of the education because you're paying the taxes on it. But college is not a right. There's no fundamental right to college. I think education's great. I know plenty of folks that never set a foot on a college campus are very successful. I know plenty of folks that have got PhDs and are absolutely worthless sacks of humanity. So that's kind of a weird median to gauge people by. Book smarts don't equal real smarts. So I want to make that crystal clear. Liberals want to blame George Bush for everything. Liberals think George Bush left this country a mess, which, by the way, he did leave this country an absolute mess. But George Bush isn't responsible for the country's woes currently. Barack Obama's been president for 7 years. He campaigned on being better than Bush. He campaigned on less government spending, less government overreach, less this, less that, less executive orders, less power grabbing for the executive branch. He's done more government spending, more government overreach, more power grabbing for the executive branch than any president that's ever preceded him, combined. And I want you to understand that under Barack Obama's watch, there are more Americans completely out of the workforce than ever before in the history of this country. Ever. The median household income has dropped under his presidency for the first time since the Carter administration. And prior to that, the Great Depression. I want people to realize what an abject failure he's been too. Now, I get asked a lot what I think of political candidates running for president, because this is a very important election. I think crazy Uncle Doofus Bernie Sanders needs to just go back on welfare, because that seems to be all he's good at, is taking free crap and spending other people's money because he thinks he can spend it better than you. I think that Hillary Clinton needs to be in prison. We already know why. I think Donald Trump is a Democrat in disguise who, although he has changed the game a little bit by funding his own campaign, he also needs to dictate the fact that there are things that should be left unsaid. And he said all of those things. I don't feel that he would make an excellent president. I don't feel he'd make an excellent leader. Ted Cruz hasn't come up with a unique answer by himself. Not one single rational, complete solution that's his idea. Doesn't mean he'd make a terrible president, but I don't think he is president material. Marco Rubio, probably the most likable of the bunch, just doesn't do his job very well. Not a huge fan of his policies and proposals. Then you have a guy named Rand Paul. Rand Paul, on the other hand, is not even a Republican. He's a libertarian. What does that mean, you ask? Glad you asked. A libertarian is someone who believes in the Constitution, what the Founding Fathers envisioned. A limited federal government constrained by the Constitution with the power of the states and the people, and not the federal government. Rand Paul wants to abolish the IRS and place a flat tax rate across the board. Doesn't matter what you make, whether you make $1 or $100 million. He wants a flat 10% tax rate. Economists, some of the most respected economists in the world, have deemed that our entire budget deficit, with the right planning, cuts in the right place, adds in the right place, whatever the case may be, could actually be balanced inside of 6 years with a flat rate tax. See, liberals, you don't punish success. You try to succeed. Everyone should be trying to succeed, but you don't punish those who succeed by raising their taxes, taking from them to give to those who made poor decisions. Help the people who made poor decisions, fine, but help them make the right decision. Don't tax the crap out of the people who succeed. Rather, try to find a way to help the people who don't succeed. Because yes, there are more that don't succeed than do. But I believe staunchly in capitalism because capitalism works. You know, if you work hard, you apply yourself, you educate yourself, and you work hard at your craft, you will succeed. It's just that simple. There's no cut and dry in this. There's no black and white. There's no gray area. If you work hard, you'll succeed. If you do not, you will likely falter and fail. It's really not brain surgery. If it were, I would appoint Dr. Ben Carson to do it, since he's the finest neurosurgeon in the world. So I pretty much shot down every liberal debate argument point there is in a matter of minutes. I find it interesting that liberals still like to argue that Bush is the problem and Obama's a great president. Well, Obama's been an abject failure worse than anyone in the history of this country. Bush is not far behind him, but Obama's been an absolute abject failure. Telling yourself otherwise is an absolute lie to yourself. Sorry, people, I actually work a lot of hours. I work hard, so I'm kind of tired. You're gonna have to leave it at that. I mean, if you really, really, really want to break it down, this election can change the course of America. If you vote for the wrong person, and most likely they all are the wrong person, we could be screwed as a country. We could be heading down the path of a third world, unindustrialized nation. It's kind of baffling to think that people still believe that socialism can work. The only people who truly believe this are these entitlement-minded yuppies who have never worked for anything in their life, but somehow believe that they're entitled to something that they didn't earn. It's absolutely crazy to think that. These people think that abortions are okay. Killing babies in the womb is okay, but we should ban an inanimate object like a handgun or a rifle because it kills babies. No, they don't kill babies. I have all kinds of guns, and guess what? None of them have ever killed anyone. They don't jump out of their holsters. They don't shoot anyone. They just kind of sit there and do nothing. And so long as nobody threatens my family or myself, they'll continue to do nothing. My goodness. We've grown into a world where criminals are the victims, and I just don't get it. And police are the enemies. How did that happen? These liberals are the most bigoted, racist people in the world. They believe that somehow minorities cannot succeed on their own. They need handouts. They need special treatment. Otherwise, they can't succeed. That is the sheer definition of racism and bigotry. If you are a minority in this country contemplating voting for Hillary Clinton, aka the Butcher of Benghazi, or Bernie Sanders, you are an idiot. I'm sorry, but anyone with half a brain that gets told you can't succeed without my help, anyone with any pride or dignity in themselves should tell you, go to hell, I'll do it on my own. I don't know what else to say. Liberal, baby-killing, racist, entitlement-minded buffoons. And now they want us to be socialist as a nation. I say no to socialism. I say no to liberalism. And I say no to you, leftists. I'm not a right-wing extremist. I just believe the Founding Fathers had it right. Stay out of my pocket. If I earned it, it's mine, not yours. You want it? Go get it. Brooklyn out.